I loved this conversation with my guest, and today you're going to love it too, especially if you need some inspiration, like personally or for your business or connecting with your customers or connecting with yourself. I feel like Ann and I cover so much today about being an entrepreneur and what that means and how to really connect and move fully into our passions and into our business. And if you're like me, I really love hearing stories about like how people got started or what that motivation was behind the scenes, or stories of like a tragedy and how the person rose up and how they overcame that situation that they could have never imagined. And oh my goodness, we talk about that today. Anne has shares a story that she's been through and how she overcame that situation. That is something that, oh, I can't even imagine. So we are just Anne is opening up, we're pulling back the curtain. This was a really good conversation. I'm so excited for you to hear it. I think you're really going to love Anne too. And Anne is going to be at Evolve. So be sure to say hi to her if you are coming and see her designs. She's incredible. Her jewelry is incredible. I can't wait for you to meet her if you're going to Evolve. If you're not, you're going to get her on this episode. So you're still in luck. Before we dive in, here's a little bit more about my guest. After a successful corporate sales career, Ann Chikahisa took a creative passion and founded a six-figure online business, Chikahisa Studio. She has over 15 years experience as a business owner, metalsmith, and jewelry designer, where she creates pieces that connect with women and with their inner power. Her mission is to help women realize their highest potential because it's never too late. Anne and her jewelry have been featured in Sports Illustrated Swim, King 5 News, Refinery 29. She has also been a guest on several podcasts, Slow Made Podcasts, Sweet But Fearless, and others. She has built a community of over 14,000 followers on social media. Be sure to go follow her. We'll link to her as well. She's got some really beautiful content on there, and you'll get to know Anne better that way too. So let's dive in. Welcome to Rooted in Retail. I'm your host, Crystal Vilkaitis. Here we have engaging and informative conversations with successful indie retailers and industry experts. Together, we learn, connect, and grow. Don't miss our live after the show every Tuesday night in the Rooted in Retail Facebook group. All right, here's today's episode. Anne, welcome to Rooted in Retail. I am thrilled you're here.
Oh, thank you so much. I am so excited to be here and honored that you invited me. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, you're doing some pretty cool stuff. So I'm excited for our listeners to hear what you're up to. But before we dive in, will you take a couple of minutes and just share a little bit more about you and your business?
Yes, of course. My name is Ann Chikahisa. I am a jewelry designer and metalsmith, and my business is Chikahisa Studio. I'm based in Seattle. And what we do is we create symbolic jewelry that has meaning to it. It's meant to empower women and get them in touch with their inner self and strengthen that. And it's really more than just adornment. It's about stepping into that powerful woman that we all have and maybe not always actively embracing.
Yes, exactly. That's why I'm so excited for this conversation today, because you're really doing things that are just, they're deeper. It's meaningful. It's really helping us unleash this side of us that's within us. And you also have kind of a career change here. I know that you started, not necessarily started, but I know that you were in a corporate sales position before.
Correct.
And I'm curious, when you decided to take this leap and completely pivot and go into your business now and creating beautiful jewelry, was there a pivotal moment for you when you're like, okay, I'm doing this? Or was it sort of organically happened?
That's such a great question. So I had been in corporate sales for a long time and just felt, and I was very good at it and very successful. I just felt like there was always this pit in my stomach, like I should be doing something more. I grew up very creative. My mother was creative. My grandmother was creative. So it was in my DNA. And being a third generation Japanese American, my family was always talking about being safe in my career because I had wanted to go to art school. And my parents both looked at me and said, "No, you're not doing that. We're not paying for that because we want you to have a stable career." So I did not pursue it. And so after about 15 years in the corporate world, I just wasn't happy and I felt dead inside. And so
Mm,
that's why I started taking art classes at a local community center, and I just started making things. And I've always loved fashion. That's one of my biggest passions is fashion and getting dressed and feeling beautiful and powerful in clothes and accessories. So I decided since I'm not in the fashion business, maybe I will just make some jewelry. So I took a metalsmithing class, and that's how the whole thing started. I became obsessed. You can ask any metalsmith, and they will tell you that we all fall in love with using a torch and melting things because we're all pyromaniacs at heart. And it's very transformative too, though, because to see
mm,
something going from a flat piece of metal into a beautiful piece of jewelry and the shaping and the melting of it and soldering things together, it's like this adrenaline rush that I never got from physically making something. And
mm.
so I just kept making things and it turned into obsession, took over the family home. My family was like, "Oh my God, there goes mom again, making more stuff." And so I eventually got my own studio and moved it out of the house. And the biggest pivotal moment of when I decided that there was potential for this passion project into a hobby was I think all my friends were tired of me giving them jewelry for every occasion. So my one of my dearest friends said to me, she says, "Let's have a trunk show. I'll host it at my house. We'll invite all our friends." I'm like, "Oh, I don't think I'm ready." She's like, "Come on, let's just do it." So we did it. It was the most amazing day I ever had. I sold 65 pieces that day.
Whoa.
And so at the end of the day, like I was hoarse at the end of the day because people came in and out of the house all day long. It was from like 10 to 4, and everyone kept going. And at first I was like, "Oh, everyone's just coming to support me because they're my friends, they're buying things, whatever." And then after the trunk show was over, when I saw how much I sold, my friend said to me, "See, you should be doing this." And that was the aha moment. And so a couple of months later, maybe 4 or 5 months later, I quit my job. It's something that I knew I needed to do. I just never had the courage to do it. And I didn't have a
Mm,
purpose. So it wasn't like all of a sudden I said, "Oh my God, I'm quitting my job to do this." I knew I needed to do something else. It was a launching pad. And then I
yep.
ended up doing it. I never would have thought that I was going to become a jewelry designer, but that's where I'm at.
Well, you just followed those internal messages that you're feeling of, I'm pulled to do this, I'm pulled to do this. So you just keep following that. And I think that a lot of us don't follow it.
So
It's
true.
too scary.
It's
Yeah.
so true. I think that is one of the things that I've learned about myself is you can't listen to what everybody else tells you should do, and you really have to stay true to yourself. And my journey through my journey, even though it's been up and down. There's days that I'm like, "Oh my God, why am I doing this?" You understand. Every entrepreneur understands that.
Yeah.
And then you have these fantastic moments like that trunk show where you're like on a high and you're like, "Oh, I can do this." But the most important thing is that you're following who you are and are true to yourself. I think that's what I've learned the most about being an entrepreneur is following myself. And then being an entrepreneur, I think you really learn who you are as well. I don't know if that's
Mm,
been true for you, but for me, it's really forced me to look at who I am and what I value and where I want to be in this world and how do I want to leave my print on the world,
yeah.
my
It's
legacy.
so true. Yeah, your legacy, exactly. Well, and I think that we learn so much by getting into action and into doing things. And it can feel really scary to make a big change like you
For
did,
sure.
or to launch a business and take a risk on yourself, especially if your family doesn't understand it, like coming from your background and your parents. And I mean, that just adds probably extra pressure and weight to really bet on yourself and do that. But I so agree with you because then once you do get into action, you learn so much more about yourself, about people, and the direction you really want to go. We can think one thing, but until you're really in it, doing it, that's where the information is going to come from. And so I just think that if there's anyone listening who's sitting on the sidelines thinking about things, you honestly just can't even imagine what could come of XYZ until you're really in action. So get in action.
Oh, absolutely. 1,000%. And also, when you get into action, it doesn't always go the way you think it will go, which
Right.
actually can be very beautiful because you may have an expectation you're going to do XYZ and it doesn't happen that way. And a perfect
Mhm.
example for me was I was like, oh, I'm going to go into this business and I am going to just wholesale. And that's what I'm going to do is create a wholesale line and go out and just wholesale my business. And that's not exactly what's happened. I do wholesale, but I also have my own online portion of the business. So it's like, and it's been a beautiful balance. And I never thought it
Mhm.
would be that way. So
Yep, exactly. Yeah, you had to jump in. Will you share actually? I think that you have a very interesting model that retailers would be interested in because you have membership attached to your products, which I think is really cool. So, will you break that down?
oh, absolutely. As a consumer, I know that when I'm a loyal customer to XYZ brand, I always want to feel like I'm a special customer, right? I don't want to be run of the mill customer. And so I know so many brands do reward points and the perks and all that. But me as a consumer, I hate that because I'm so unorganized. I don't have a way to track the points. They expire. I never know when to use them or how to use them. And so I never join any of those loyalty programs. I thought about how can I reward a loyal customer who wants to become a collector of my jewelry without them having to think about it, that it's effortless. So what I've done is I've created a VIP membership and it's an annual membership. They join and they automatically get 20% off of everything that they buy from me. They get access to exclusive products. They get early access to all my sales. We have VIP customer service for them. If they have a problem, we always make sure they get the right discounts because technology doesn't always work as well as we want it to. So we do a lot of nice things for them, surprises in the mail and birthday gifts, all that kind of stuff. It's just an intimate club that we have, and it's worked really well for us. I love
Mhm.
doing it. So that's how I wanted to reward my loyal customers.
Yeah, I love it. You're rethinking loyalty and doing it in a way that feels really right for you. I talk a lot about experience on this show. That's a cool experience. Like offering these specials and you're the first to know. But I like that they have some skin in the game, that they actually have to pay to be a member versus it's just free because I feel like you get better quality people. Have you found that to
Oh,
be
for
true?
sure. I have people who've been in my membership since I started it, which was, I think, 5 years ago, 5 years ago. And they just keep rejoining and all kinds of stuff. So, and it's an evolving program. And so now I'm adding some new things into it, which I have to formalize, but we're going to elevate the program even more. So I'm really excited about that as well.
So cool. So cool. I love it, Anne.
Thank you.
Now, you've emphasized that it's never too late to start a new chapter. And I think it's really important for us to hear that and know that. And of course, when we're starting something new, challenges always happen. It's just part of the game, and this is how we learn. So, will you share? Did you have a couple of challenges as you were first starting this business and pivoting? And if so, how did you overcome those?
Yeah, for sure. I've had many challenges. If I said
It wasn't perfect.
right, if I said no, I'm lying.
Yes.
Um, I think one of the biggest challenges in the very beginning, and anybody who comes from a corporate job and then starts their own business, for that first year, I was hyperventilating every month because I didn't get that paycheck anymore and that security. And it's really hard. That mindset was really hard. And finally, I just leaned into it and said, it's okay, it's going to work. And it has, but that was really hard. And as far as pivoting, I think because I had a corporate background, it really helped me tap into all the infrastructure that I was used to having to set up systems. An example is that in sales, you're very metric organized. You're always looking at metrics to see where you are and where your opportunities are. So from the very beginning, when I started my business, I knew it was really important to have solid accounting, to know if I'm profitable, to know what my cost of goods were, to know what my margins are. So I was profitable my very first year. The volume wasn't there, but I knew I was making money. And so then it laid all that foundation of knowing how to pivot and where to grow and where my opportunities are. So that was really important. And it's not the sexy stuff, it's not the fun stuff, but it's crucial for a business to survive.
It is. I've heard from other retailers too who do have that corporate background. I feel like they get up and running a little quicker. There's a little less bumps because you can pull so much of that through. But not everybody has that, and they learn either on their own or through listening to this show and people like you who are sharing their wisdom and their experiences. We definitely learn a lot when we start these businesses, that's for sure.
Right, right.
Do you want to minimize frustration that you may have when it comes to tracking purchasing orders or freight tracking? Or do you want to have it be even easier for you to get products to your customers when they request something and easier to manage and track that? Whether it's special orders, special requests from your customers, or do you want to make it even easier for you to manage your accounts payable, making sure that you're paying vendors and invoices on time? It's easy to find all of that. If you are answering yes to any of these things, then you're going to want to listen up because we have a brand new course that just launched that's going to teach you how to do all those and more, even help you run your store from anywhere in the world and allow you to help people to support your store that don't have to live within your town. They can be anywhere. All of this is covered in the new, brand new training course called Next Level Retail Asana Strategies to Boost Your Business Efficiency. This course was created by me and fellow retailer Beth Rich with Mix It Up, who has been on the show. And during that episode, she was talking about some of the ways she streamlined her store, saving her a ton of time, frustration, hassle using Asana. And I said, Beth, would you be willing to share more? Should we do a course? And we did it. And it's here. So you could get access to this. We're talking about tracking purchase orders, freight tracking, customer requests, special orders, accounts payable, vendors claim, how to keep you efficient, and maybe even run your store from a beach in Bali, which is Beth's dream. And she's on her way to that because of this course, the things that she teaches in this course. You do not need technical experience to learn and go through this because we break it down. Beth actually shares her screen on how she does everything. You get to peek behind the curtain at a very successful retailer on how she's running the back end and the systems of her store. And she even teaches you kind of click by click where you need to click and how you could set this all up. So you could go to crystalmediaco.com/Asana. That's ASANA. crystalmediaco.com/Asana to learn more and get your course. Don't delay because this will save you so much frustration. You and your team, it will create efficiencies in your business. You will be streamlined, you will be happier, you will have more time and a more successful retailer. Beth and I know you're going to love this course. So head on over to crystalmediaco.com/Asana and get your course now. Okay, so now you mentioned this in the beginning that your jewelry is described as more than adornment, connecting to a woman's soul, which I love so much. How did you find your unique voice and vision in jewelry design, and what steps did you take to develop and refine your product line?
Yeah, that's a great question. I get asked that from a lot of jewelers who are just starting out. The jewelry business, as you know, is very competitive and there's so much jewelry out there. And from the beginning, I knew that I needed to find my own personal voice to stand out in a very crowded market. If I would tell anybody who is starting a business is you really have to dig deep into who you are and not listen to what other people are saying is the way to be as a jewelry designer. Is find your unique voice and don't copy what other people do. You can be inspired by what other people do, but take what's out there and make it your own. That took me probably 3 or 4 years to really start finding my own voice. And, just trying little things, seeing what resonates, what doesn't. And then once I found a voice, I really stepped into it. And where I found my voice was really strong was tapping into my heritage. In Japanese culture, there's a thing that's called wabi sabi, which is the art of imperfection or the beauty of imperfection and celebrating all the things that are imperfect. And
Mm.
I was raised that way and it's just ingrained in me. And I never really thought of it as a way of expressing my art. So when I started to step into it, it just came out very authentic. So my stuff is not perfect. There's a lot of texture to it. The circles are abstract. My lines are never completely straight. Things are a little wabi sabi. And I did that for a reason. It's purposeful, it has meaning. And to me, I think in this world, there's so much emphasis on perfection.
Mhm.
So I wanted to celebrate why wabi sabi is so important in modern age is that we're all imperfect. We all have scars. We all have, like, whether it's physical or emotional, we all have these things that other people may think are not perfect that actually make us so beautiful and should be celebrated.
Mhm. I love that
So
so much.
that's where it started. And then I just stepped into that. And as the business has evolved, it's become more than just what it looks like and the symbolism of my jewelry into deeper meaning. I combine Western and Eastern philosophy into things. Like one of my rings is called Five Elements, and it's all about the five elements. And in Japanese culture, certain numbers have bigger
Mm.
meaning than others. And so I incorporate some of that. And then I also use ancient Roman theories or Greek theories into it. So it's kind of a combination of all different kinds of philosophies. It's just what resonates with me at that moment.
That is so cool.
Thank
And I feel like there's for our listeners, like when you really lean into you and where you want to go, you do find that alignment, like things flow. I feel like the creativity opens, opportunities show up. And I've talked to retailers who will compare themselves to the store down the street or really looking outward versus getting in. And what do you want your store to look like? What is your brand? What is the feeling? And be you. Like you just have to channel that and have that come through on your social and through your website. And I think there's a lot of fear that I'll be judged for being me, people won't like it. Did you experience any of those fears, or was it a little bit more comfortable for you once you just really leaned in?
Oh, for sure. I felt that fear. Jewelers can be perfectionists when you look at
Mm.
it, and everything is shiny and perfect. There's no scratches on it, there's no texture. What I was doing was different from what most of the people I trained with or took classes with. And so, yeah, it was very scary to do. And I think where I got confidence in doing it was once people responded to it. So I got validation that it made sense to other people. I think that's one of the biggest fears when you're doing something a little out of the box is that nobody will really understand what you're trying to do. And
That's
so
very true.
once you get a little validation, it helps. And then you're onto something and that people can relate to it.
It's true. And that's why you got to keep going because you might not get it right away,
Yeah.
too. I say this with social. Once you go live or you're doing these reels and you start getting the feedback from your audience saying, it's so good to see you, love seeing you. They come into the store and share the Instagram post. You need that validation to be like, okay, I could do this. It fuels us to keep going. but sometimes it takes longer than others, but you will get it. I just feel like when you are on the right path, you're learning to see what is working. And once you find that, you're going to get that
For
validation.
sure. And the other thing that I think is really important to remember is just because somebody gives you negative feedback doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. Because to this day, I still get comments on social. People say, oh my God, that's ugly, or it's crooked, or it's not perfect, or whatever about the aesthetic of my collections. And what I've learned is not to take that personally and to realize that person is just not my customer.
Right. Oh, and I would have the hardest time if I made something and somebody said that's ugly or I have the hardest time getting that kind of feedback. I would just like shut down, I feel like. And
It's hard. I used to cry
yeah.
in the beginning. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, but you probably grow a thick skin, but the realization that they are not my customers. You're not for everybody. That's not how the world works. Like we have diversity and we have different it's the balance of the world. But you do have to remember that, and I think it's really good advice for our listeners because you could put content out there, you could do something that people don't like. That doesn't mean that you're on the wrong path.
Right. And social can be so brutal. I mean,
Mm,
I have seen it from other small business owners. They'll post something and then they'll get tons of comments, and 80% is, all right, this is fabulous. And then 20% are haters. And sometimes, I have to talk my friend off the ledge. It's like, don't take it personally. They're not your customers. So move on.
yep,
So,
move on.
yeah.
It's so true. Such good advice. I love it so much. Now, in preparing for this, you mentioned that you had a tragedy and it sounds like you turned that around and another kind of pivotal moment for you. So, can you share your personal story of how a tragic event led to a significant shift in your business and what lessons you learned from that experience?
Yeah. I hope nobody has to experience tragedy to have a pivot. But I was married at the time, and my husband, ex-husband now, came home and he just said to me, or actually he didn't say anything to me. He left me a note, said, I moved out, I'm filing for divorce, and basically see ya. I came home to that. And it was awful. I felt like the
Mhm.
rug had been pulled out from under me. I was in shock. I knew we had problems, but I wasn't expecting that to happen.
Mm.
So, what I did was I just turned inward. Like for me, art is my way of healing myself, to find comfort. And you hear the sayings that all artists, their most beautiful things happen when they're depressed or they have a tragedy, or it's when all the bad things happen. When you turn inward and you dig deep, beauty comes out. So I just knew that at the time, for me, I needed something to hold on to, something to keep me strong and to give me hope that I could move forward. So I was looking for something that I could wear, obviously, because I'm a jeweler and I love jewelry, and I just needed something to ground me. And I was looking for a piece that spoke to me, that made me feel that way. And I couldn't find it. So I created it myself. And it was also healing because I was creating it.
Mm.
So I created this piece and it was called Hope. And it's a pendant that has a black spinel in it. And black spinel has a healing energy to give you hope and a light, a shining light. And so I created it and I started wearing it, and people commented. And then I shared my story, and then people bought it. And that's what happened. And what it turned into was my talisman collection. So my talisman collection are these pieces like what I have on. These are all talisman. They're artistic interpretation of words that I create, and it's imbued with that intention when I make it. So that
Mm.
energy is transferred to the wearer after I make it. And a talisman is an ancient tradition that's been going on for centuries. The Romans did it, the Greeks did it. They made these pieces and they wore it to find whatever energy they wanted. And that's what makes a
Mm.
talisman a little different than like a charm or an amulet, is the intentionality around it. So this terrible pivot in my life created this space for me to heal myself and to share this healing energy out in the world. And
Wow.
so, like, when you look at the talisman as they've been launched, you can see my journey. It's kind of like my markers of where I was. The first one was hope, the second was strength, the third one was truth, then it was healing. So it's like you can see my emotional journey in physical product. So it's been really fun, and it really is one of my signature. It's my signature collection now. And it's
Yeah.
been really
This
fun.
It's incredible, and it's exactly what we were saying at the beginning of this episode, that you gotta jump into action. You have no idea where anything's gonna take you, and you have no idea what life is gonna serve. There's no way you could have predicted that future
Not at all.
and see this whole product line and how it's healed you, it's helping heal others. There's just no way. This is where we just jump in and we just follow those internal messages that we get. I'm sorry that happened to you. That is probably like, I just can't even imagine. I am also grateful that you channeled it the way that you did because you were able to help yourself and other people while
Thank
doing
you.
that. That's really
Thank you.
incredible, Anne.
Yeah, it's probably not what you want to hear right before you get married too.
Right? Yeah. Thanks a lot. That's okay. You never know. Oh my goodness. Yeah, but that's a really incredible story. Thank you for
Thank
sharing that
thank
and
you.
and for sharing your magic through your designs. Now, as you're reflecting on your journey, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think what I wish I would have told myself earlier or would have done earlier is really listen to myself and not all those other people. When you start a business, you're always looking for people to support you in the areas you're not strong in. And I have always done that. But I think what I wish I would have done better is to make sure what somebody is telling me really resonates back to who I am and my mission,
Mhm.
and do it in my way and not necessarily how they do it. An example would
Mm,
be like somebody says, "Oh, you got to hit it really hard and do it this way, XYZ." In a more masculine energy, right? In that kind of broy attitude of like hit it hard and push through and push through. Yes, there's a way to push through, but like how do I do that in a feminine way that is in my voice?
mm,
Like in copy for an email newsletter, I tell a story and it's a subtle soft sell because that's how I've always sold and that's always worked for me. Whereas in corporate world, it was always like, you have to say these certain things and this is how you say it. And I never followed the script. So I don't know why I didn't follow that advice to myself when I was running a business is
mm.
doing, somebody says something and then just forming it in the way that made sense for me.
I can actually resonate with that a lot because I've talked about this on the show that I would listen to other coaches and other people online and really change my tone and change the things that I was doing, and it negatively impacted us. And then I also felt like off the now where am I? What am I doing? Like, I lost my voice. And also I think it's really good for our listeners to hear that because I think especially with copy, since we're talking about that and that's one of your examples, I think there's a lot of pressure for it to be perfect.
Oh,
And, "Oh, I'm not a good writer. I can't write marketing copy. I can't write sales copy." Tell stories. Be yourself. Be authentically you. That stuff is what's gonna get people to keep reading, to keep opening your emails because if you're salesy all the time, it's just like everyone else.
exactly.
You've gotta stand out. It's hard to stand out, but the way that we do it is by telling our stories and being ourselves, and however you speak, that should come through in that copy. Give yourself that permission. It does not need to be perfect.
Oh, absolutely. 1,000%. I agree. And what's helped me in writing my email copy is I think about how would I talk to that a friend. So I try to write my copy like I'm speaking to my friend. Oh,
Mm,
guess what? I just made this beautiful new thing. You've got to hear about it. And this is what it is. I'm hoping that my readers feel that enthusiasm. They feel the connection that is not like, okay, I got this new thing and this is why you need to have it and you need to buy it because XYZ. It's really about connecting because
Mhm.
people buy from people they know, love, and trust, right? And that connection. We
Right.
hear that all the time. And it's very, very true.
Yeah, it's so true. I love it. Such great advice. All right, Anne, are you ready for the resilience
Oh
round?
my gosh, yes.
Okay. Best business book.
Oh, 10x is better than 2x.
Yep, that's a good one. Best retail technology, like an app or software.
Shopify.
How do you keep up with the ever-changing retail landscape?
Oh, by listening to podcasts like you and going to conferences like an Evolve conference or reading trade
Mhm.
journals, reading technology things.
Awesome. To help retailers be stronger, more rooted in success, what's a product design foundational best practice?
I think what's really important for retailers these days is to tap into their own unique point of view because there's so many major retailers out there. We can get the same product at a major retailer, but I want to go to a boutique store that has a very strong point of view that resonates with me and has unique products that I can't find anywhere else.
Good one. If you had to start your business all over again, what's one thing you'd do differently?
Not panic.
Oh, that's a good one.
Just know that if you are passionate about what you want to put out in the
Mm,
world and that your heart is there, you will find a way to make it work.
well said. Finally, what do you think the future of independent retail looks like?
I think it looks good because there's so much online shopping that, and I hear this a lot as an online retailer, is that people want to touch things, see the scale, feel it, interact with actual salespeople instead of a screen to buy something, to have that personal experience. So I think the retailers that do that experience really well are going to just blow it out of the water.
I couldn't agree more. And where can people connect with you and learn more?
I'm on Instagram at Chikahisa Studio, and then they can check me out on my website, which is chikahisastudio.com, and it's Chikahisa Studio.
Awesome. We'll link to all this too. Be sure to follow Anne on Instagram and check out her site so you can see these designs. They're gorgeous. I love them. I love being connected to you. And Anne, this was such a great
Oh,
conversation. Thank you so
thank
much.
you, Crystal. This was super fun, and thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Mm, awesome. Yes. Everyone, remember that I am rooting for your success. Have a great week ahead. Bye. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me. Don't forget to join the Rise and Shine newsletter, which is social media news you need to know, sent via email every Monday morning. Go to crystalmediaco.com/rise to join. And don't miss the newest episode of Rooted in Retail, which drops every Sunday morning.